Parameters make subprograms like really useful. Without parameters, subprograms wouldn't be anywhere near as useful as they would be normally. I'm going to go through what parameter is, how you use them. What I will say before this, you need to have watched the video about subprograms really to be able to understand this. And this is fairly advanced stuff as well. So this is the harder end of programming. So that's just something to bear in mind too. I'm going to start off by just writing a very quick function, which will be very familiar if you've watched that other video. All right, so if you remember, if I ran this program now, absolutely nothing would happen because I've got a function defined, but unless I call that function, it is not run. So none of this code is run unless I call the function. And as a reminder how to call a function, I just put the name of the function and then I need to put brackets after it. So now, because I put that one line into it, I'm calling this add function. And so when I run the program, all this code would happen. So if you have a think about it, you're going to have a box like a variable, which is called mynum. And the big change I'm going to make is putting a value between these brackets, because every time you use a function, you have to use a pair of brackets. And I've got a pair of brackets here. And the reason why is this is to put parameters into it. So let's have a look here. I'm going to put adder3 and I'm going to close the brackets there. And then up here, I'm going to put the name of a parameter I want to use. So I'm going to call this parameter num2add. Okay. And I'm going to use the parameter somewhere in the program. So here, instead of doing +5, I'm going to do plus num2add. And parameters basically are extra variables that you use within your function and only exist within that function. So let's try and keep track of what's in them. Okay, so what happens here is our first line of code is the same as before. It's down here and I call the function adder3. Now that number 3, I regret I'm not leaving myself enough space here, the number 3 gets put into num2add. You see that? Because it's in the brackets here and it's in the brackets here. So that 3 value gets put into num2add. Okay, then we're going to go to the next line of code, which is going to be here, where mynum equals 0. So we're going to set mynum to 0 again. And then we're going to run through our program. Here we've got mynum equals mynum plus num2add, so that's 0 plus 3. So mynum now has got the value 3 in it. And again, I'm going to return that value from the function. And we'll worry about returning later. So that's how that whole process works. But the great thing about functions is now I can do this. I can go adder, so I can call the function again, but I can make it behave slightly differently by putting a different number in. So I could do adder7 there. And I'm hoping you'll see what would happen there is you'd get the function being run through with the number 3 returned, and then afterwards you'd get the same function being run through, but this time you'd get the number 7 returned because the number 7 is being used there for num2add. But let's deal with the whole returning sort of idea, okay? Because that's just something we haven't touched on. If I return a value, then the function will pass a value back to my main program, but I need to capture or save that value in some way. So what I can do is this. I can maybe call this result. It could be called anything. This is just going to be the name of a variable, and I can go result equals adder, and let's put 9 in, okay? But then I'm going to do this. I'm going to do print result. So can you guess what might get printed to the screen? Let's have a think about this. If I ran my program from the start, then I'd do some stuff where I'd get mynum would be number 3, then I'd do some stuff, mynum would be number 7. And both of those cases I'm returning a value, but I'm not doing anything with the value I'm returned. But here, where I go result equals adder 9, I'd run through my function. So we'd go here, we'd first pass what? Let's set this up so we'd pass the number 9 into num2add, because that's here, that's coming from that brackets here. We're focusing on this line here. This is the function, that line that we're running. So 9 would be in num2add. We'd have, first off, we'd have 0 in mynum, so we'd go here, then we'd go down to here, and so we'd add 9 to it. We'd return what's in mynum, and so here we've got result equals adder 9. I'd have a new variable down here, created called result, and what's going to happen? Well, what's been returned? What's in mynum here when I return, when I use this word return? What's the value which is in mynum? It's number 9, so 9 is going to get put into result. And because of that, when I go to print result, I will get 9 output onto the screen. So that is how parameters work just generally, and that's how you return a value, and they make subprograms just massively useful. If you found that video useful, please hit the like button and hit subscribe to the channel. Keep learning and revising more computer science by clicking on the videos linked here.